Croeso. And welcome. Here we are for Britain's Hidden History number 117. Wow, the set would never last. And I look orange. That's a bit weird. All right, take it away, Arnie. Right, thank you for always joining. Wow, loads of people waiting. Who's first on? Ian Briggs, a new name there. Hello, Ian. The camera's been set a bit differently tonight. Everything's the other way around. There we go. Ian Briggs, lovely panorama. Ross earlier over Cardiff from Kevin Mound. Yeah, hope you've all seen the Kevin on one. Thank you to Len Crowther, find that one. Is the Bible a reliable historical record? Well, looking at all sorts of stuff like that tonight. Moses, a biblical character. Johnny Enigma. Wait, what? Charlton Heston wasn't the real Moses? Thank you, Arnie B. It was called Gigolo, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
Right, loads of people online. Great. Thank you. I got a message from Hugh Evans who passed 500,000 views. My goodness, here we go. Can any dating from archaeology be trusted at all? No, I doubt it very much. One of my pet subjects, Ian. Who else you got? Marcel, excellent to see Marcel Abraham's on. You got a big spanner next to a name. One of the big helpers on all this. Yeah, you can do it through the history books. Hello. Just giving a chance for people to log on. Hello, Charlie John Laby Fiddlesworth. Charlton Heston. Charlie says Charlton Heston looks unnervingly like Swiss Tony, which won't mean a thing to people outside of Britain. Anyway, there we go. Lady Fibblesworth, I'm hoping one day we discover an underground society. If I lived in a country that's constantly raided for its minerals, I would live underground like a dwarf. Maybe under Dan Rogov. Oh, there's massive caves under Wales, and that's probably where Tolkien got his ideas for the dwarves. Curiously, actually, slight detour. No, that's not detour. It's too early for detours. Hey, David Mosley's on, all the way over from Germany. Wonderful, Mr. PH30. This is going to be a bit habit Ross, the late Ross. Yeah, I'm sorry. You'll see, there's a stack of it today. Yeah, he's only a few minutes late tonight, but I do apologise. Right, anyway. This is going to be a big one, all right? Because by amazing timing, we got Richard there, Richard J, asked a question on the Facebook group earlier today. Or was it? Well, maybe yesterday, a couple of days ago, which fitted in perfectly with what we're doing this evening. And it was what's called the Israel Stele. All right, so we'll get on to that. And it's great because you can see then, I'm being blocked off by my screen here. I got to do that. Hieroglyphics. We can see if we can read it, make sense of it, and a bit of the story behind that. And then we're going to look at Moses. All right. Now we've got a few other fun things as well. The island of Britain derives its name from Brutus, a Roman consul. I don't think it's that Brutus. According to the annals of the Roman history, the Britons deduced the origin both from Greeks and Romans. Nennius. Yeah, well, there's a bit more to it than that, Ron. I think you're new to it there. Brutus, he's from the Etruscans, is the British history we're looking at. Descendant of Aeneas, who's all tied in with the Romans. And maybe the Britons and the Romans are even the same people. Sacrilege, how dare I say this. Right, okay, we've got loads to get through tonight. It's going to be huge. Let's have a quick look here. Hang on, there's this new button I've discovered, which is fantastic. There we go. Right, okay, now I've got a little trivia question to get things going. It's an awful picture of me, but there's the wonderful Alan Wilson in the middle. A bit blurry, not a great picture. Quick trivia question for you. I need to read the comments. Hang on, I need to get the second computer lined up. Oh, producer's disappeared. That's okay. Let's just, hang on, I've got too many books here. Oh man, it's been a hectic day. Right, hit that like button. Yes, thank you very much. Evening all. Yes, hello Brad. Excellent. Ross, you look great. Thank you very much. I'm much healthier now. Thank you for all the messages. I'm fully recovered. I'm bang on, 100%. And there's loads more videos going out. So I think it was hopefully seen the Kevin on one yesterday. And then there's 2 more already scheduled. They'll be going out 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. You'll see about that. Another one Tuesday. Loads more. It's all kicking back on, all right? So put the camera there, so my computer screen just blocking you off a bit. But at least I'll be looking at the camera, isn't it? Right, but is that Brutus? Same fellow, yes. Just how Roman he is, that's the only question. Right, okay, come on, let's have some The Romans weren't invented when Brutus came to Britain. I like it rhythmistic. That's my kind of thinking. I now keep saying this, but it's all in the Great Migrations. Now indexed and be out as soon as possible. Yes, Marcel's book, The Great Migrations. We're looking forward to that. Right, okay. I want to see some guesses. Which book, out of all the books Alan Wilson wrote, there's loads of them, which one do you think is his favourite? He's been consistent with this for years, ever since I met him. And it's also my favourite book as well. And the answer is, without further ado, this one. Moses in the Hieroglyphs. Hang on, let's just jump back down there. Moses in the Hieroglyphs, which is something we haven't spoken about much on these shows. I'm going to get back into it. It's just, to my mind, if there's a fairer world, this book alone would earn Wilson and Blackett at least 2-3 Nobel Awards for, I don't know, history or literature, or take your pick, really. Maybe not literature, need a bit of editing, but definitely for history. This is the book in which you first see how to crack hieroglyphs. The one I've put into this book, Hieroglyphics, so you can see how to do it for yourself. As I always say, this book shows you how they worked it out. Then my book shows you how you can work it out. Because it's all there. You can do it all from this book. You don't really need my book. I've just put a dictionary and all that kind of stuff. And one of the many things, this book covers so many things. In fact, just quickly give an idea of the chapter headings. I should say something about it. So you've got King Arthur and the Pharaohs of Egypt. So first of all, welcome. There's a lot of new people, and I've been sent a lot of questions, lovely friendly comments saying, can you just give us a bit of background? The overall thing of this show is basically the history that either got taken out of the school books or never made it into the school books for political reasons. And the British history, migrations go all the way back through Anatolia, the Brutus migrations, and before that, the Albi migrations back in, around about 1500 BC. And that era went over a period of time, not just all on one day. So people have different dates, there's a range of dates. And that's what Marcel is trying to pull all that together and tied in with the Trojan Wars. All these things are part of British history and always have been until the last couple of hundred years when they've been taken out of our history for political reasons. And one of the amazing things is that you can trace the Cymry all the way back to Egypt and the Irish as well, actually, the Erse. And I'll bring out some more unpublished Wilson and Blackett stuff soon. It's been typed up. Thank you very much to Paul and Margaret for organising a lot of the typing. Also to Margaret, who's the administrator on our Facebook group, has done a whole load. So there's a lot of new stuff and essays, a lot to be coming out in short videos and things like that on a Sunday show. So what you have, remarkably, you can read, and the way Wilson and Blackett did this, they trace back by tracing the language. So remarkably, you can read, using the old Welsh writing system, Colburn, and the Welsh language, you can read Etruscan, Rhaetian, all the way around Anatolia, and then Egyptian hieroglyphs, which is a big part of tonight. And that's just in the front of the book, sort of, we need to work out how to read hieroglyphs so we can do some research. Whereas, to my mind, it's like, wow, that's amazing all by itself. So then we got all about Alexander the Great, where he ended up, where his family were buried, where Philip is, all that kind of stuff. The idea of Herihor, and then we've got Ramses III and Agelaus, and that ties in with the Trojan War, who Hathor is, the politics of Ramses II. The big thing is, rather than go through all, the big thing they do, they take the mess of Egyptian history and straighten it all out. And one of the biggest things they do, which definitely deserves some recognition of professorships and everything else, is Egyptian history has been pieced together from the work of Manetho, who wrote, all they found was scraps of his work, hundreds of years after the date anyway, and they stuck them all that way, whereas in fact a lot of them were the same dynasties, just with different names. So if you take same dynasty with two names and put it after each other, you just added a few hundred years to history. So they sort all that out, they put them in all order, work out who they all are. And one of the things, as is suggested on the title here, is the fact you can find the biblical characters in the hieroglyphs. Because one of the things going around the last 20, 30 years particularly, if they're supposed to be these biblical people, they're supposed to have gone to Egypt, then why is there no trace of them on the hieroglyphs? Well, there is, or there are, whichever way you look at it. Lots of evidence for them. The problem is, up until now, people couldn't read the hieroglyphs. They were guessing. And you'll see a beauty of an example of, everyone can see the glasses except me, crazy guessing which has become accepted as fact. If you guess long enough and repeat it in enough books, it becomes a fact after a while, okay? Right, so it's got old messages all about who Joseph was. Maybe we'll do another program on that sometime. All these kind of things. Solomon, who the Queen of Sheba was. They're all in here. You can trace them all down. And suddenly it all makes good logical and historical sense. Right, now I've got some notes over there which make no sense at all. So good luck to me. One of the books which has been distracting me, by the way, just for a second, is this one, which I recommend. Hopefully I'm going to do a Zoom chat with Mr. Langdon, who I was out with last week. Go down to Avebury and places like that. You can see those videos coming up soon. And he just takes apart the whole Stonehenge story. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, it's not so much what... Robert does propose some theories in that, which are brilliant, and I think more than likely correct. But what it shows more than anything is absolute nonsense of the archaeology and the story we are sold. Anyway, I need to push on because we have a lot to cover tonight. So I need to waz on. Right, so a couple of comments from last week. There's one, Terry Baker, talking about Guinevere, if you remember. How about the English word queen being derived from Guinevere, because it's Queenevere? I quite like that, because one of the things we're looking at, there are at least 5 wives. Arthur II's got 3 wives named Guinevere. There's Guinevere, who was the saint of Paris, who defended it when Arthur I attacked. And you've got at least one more, so we're looking at 5 or 6, all with the same name. Maybe it means something. Right, okay, my little hobby horse, if you're new to this, I won't spend long on it. But we're looking at, finally... If you go in the description, all the links are in there, okay? If you go to, they are starting to bring in restrictions in Ireland because these new, proper words, turbines, I call them like factories, power stations, because they're going to be horrific. I don't think people have any idea how bad they're going to be, and they do nothing for the environment. So I won't go through it now because we've got a lot to cover and it's going to get late. So have a look, click on the link, and have a read of that later when you get a chance, all right? It's good to see the tide does seem to be turning a bit. Right, let's look then. I have seen Egyptian ruins that have sections of old granite with hieroglyphs that have had large sections broken and replaced with sandstone and new hieroglyphs. Yeah, that's a bit of a worry, isn't it? Who's the Queen of Sheba? Right, we'll do it another time perhaps, so you can buy a copy of the book. Buy the book! But she was a historical character. And there's a very good reason why she had to go to Solomon. I just won't go into too much detail, but she was left without heirs. She had no male to marry, because it was very restricted who you could marry if you were royal lineage. That's why so many married brothers and even fathers, grandfathers, uncles. They had very different views on ethics than what we have. And she had no males left, but she couldn't just marry anybody. She had to get someone of sufficient level, someone blessed by God. So Solomon was the great king at the time. So that's why she had to go and meet him. And she met him to get pregnant, which is what happened. And when it gets complicated from there, it's a fascinating story. This one, right, now, I've had a few people ask me, if you look in the description, you will see the, I'm just going to quickly jump onto this one. All right, let's go straight onto here. This is an article from Sovereign Wales. It's a few years old. But the author's been in touch with me. We get to know each other, have a chat and everything. And I have to say, this is a very ambitious article. Very ambitious. But if you're new to all this, the Wilson and Blackett work and history of Britain and the Cymru and all this kind of thing, you could do a lot worse than read this article, because he does try to cover all the points. It's amazing. It's you see the Merneptah Stele. Now you can read that. Now it explains about the migrations, the Pergy tablets, the Etruscan tablets. How you can read this, who the Cymru were. It's an excellent article. I wouldn't agree with it 100%, but that would be a bit weird if I did. But certainly near enough and well worth reading and very well explained, okay? And there's lots there, there's links to video clips. As you can see, it's a pretty massive kind of article. So well done on that. So I'll just jump straight to here, because this should be the next story, hopefully. Yay, hang on. I'll just jump the gun slightly. Let's not do that. Right, okay. Right, so this, like I said, a couple of videos with, this is John and his son Adam, John and Adam Griffiths. We had a great chat, I think it was yesterday. Already got the video edited, that's going to be up 2 parts. Translating this particular stone, which looks like Latin, but actually reads better in Welsh. There we go. If you haven't seen their work before, it's very, very interesting. Not just that, we talk about a lot of things about the implications then and what this refers to, and the links to Richards, Switzerland, because that's where this stone is from, and why is there British writing in Switzerland? It's all that kind of stuff. Now there's Adam, who I've got to know through doing these chats, and he has started his own channel. Hey! Well done, Adam. And I've, contrary to that bar, I have watched the whole of the first video. Very interesting. Good stuff. So please go across to The Great Griff. 20 subscribers. I'm sure we can get up to quite a bit more by next week. Although, almost 300 have watched it. So, gosh, I've got a massive lag. I'm just seeing this appear on there now, so I'm a little bit behind. So if you read a comment, I won't see it for a while, okay? Right, so he's talking about that different types of writing. One of the big things that he has struck upon is also a very bright chap, our Adam. He's just one more year left on his degree. It's just nice to see someone young getting involved in this and producing content, so please support him. And one of the things, I don't want to spoil his thunder if you like, but this is something we have discussed before. One of the things, if you look at major topic for a couple of the recent Sunday evening discussions, are who changed British history? When did it change? And it's funny, I had the question earlier about Brutus. And one of the things that Adam points out in his first video there, which I highly recommend watching, is that this guy, Polydore Virgil, seems to be the one brought in, who's the one who changed the history quite a bit. And so I've been going back and back and back, working out where the changes took place. Let's have a look. Just a little on, well, it's not really a detour, it's very relevant. It's this guy. Because the situation that Adam describes is very much that when the Tudors became enthroned, part of the conditions of English law up until then was the person mentioned on the comments there, Brutus. You had to be descended from Brutus. You had to be of the royal and also holy blood, which is another thing you'll find from following his videos, is that after the crucifixion, the Holy Family, most likely with Jesus included, who was not actually dead, came along. What's up?
You need to change to live chat so you can
change
see
to live
my
chat.
head. Yeah.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Then you can see over.
Thank you, Angie.
Leon's coming to cover.
Right, okay. So I lost my thread a second then. Yeah, so the Brutus, you had to be the Holy Family, which most likely seems to have included Jesus himself, who didn't actually die on the cross, as the Bible tells us. He was walking around afterwards, and he was eating food and all that kind of thing. So they ended up in Britain, and they married into the British royal family, which is why they have the holy blood, which is why you get so many saints around South Wales. Everything's a saint everywhere, because they were considered they were the holy family, so you had to be part of that to be a saint. So the problem, and this is Adam's work, and please Adam, get the next videos up quickly please, because I'm fascinated, is that the Tudors were having trouble plotting those links. So this chap comes along, and if you look at him, I'd recommend looking at him more and more. If you go to his early life and everything, this is what he's famous for, Anglica Historia. So Virgil's History of England, the Anglica Historia, was begun at the instigation of King Henry VII, first of the Tudors, perhaps as early as 1505. And this is the key book. It's held in the Vatican Library, which should tell you something. That's where the original is. And this is where English history really starts to get rewritten and changed to get rid of things like Brutus, Troy, and all those ancestors. And it all ties in with how the Roman Church is working and this kind of thing. So it's a fascinating topic. And I wish Adam well with that. And I'm looking forward to seeing more slides of him, okay? Right. Now then, this is the question that Richard posted, which is perfect timing and really interesting as well. So the question is, hope you can all see this on your screens. And I just check the messages a second. How are we doing? Right, Polydor Virgil traduced Richard III's reputation. If Josephine Tay is to believe, I think she is summing up as a ring of the truth. Yep, that's the other thing you have to do is Richard III, of course, who lost the Battle of Bosworth. Don't you think William changed anything after conquering? Good question, Bamper Mike. I'm not sure how much William did conquer. I know that sounds a bit crazy. Particularly in Wales, he didn't get very far. Is this thing on the crown at the moment connected to the Brutus line? I'm not sure what you're referring to. They have to give you a bit more clues on that one. Please don't tell me this is another Abraham Shill channel. I don't know what that means even. We are all the crown. Right, okay. So let's go here. Right, so the question was, how should we actually read the Israel inscription on the Merneptah Stele and the Yahweh inscription at Soleb, which is these two. So we're going to have a look at this. This is the Merneptah Stele, as it's called. And as you can see, it's got this, well, you might not be able to see, we'll zoom in a second. It's got this massive amount of hieroglyphs. They're really cool. They're very clear. Well, most of them. We can zoom in, have a pretty good look. And round about here in line 27 is a line which has been translated to mean Israel. And we've also got this here. Careful, it's about to fall off. The solid inscription, and that's the easy one. So we'll start with that one, I think. All right, so this is, I'm not sure what the official one is meant to be even. And I didn't know anything about the background to these stones. Richard basically just put them up. And I was like, okay, let's have a crack at it. All right, so if you get to your... This is the American version of Hieroglyphics. Thank you very much to CIFA for publishing this. I know some will be coming over soon, so you're very welcome. Looking forward to seeing you and doing some tours of the historical sites where Christianity starts. You can order this book in America as well. Now, what do you have in the back? Makes life easier. Oh, yeah, I'm going to show you the PDF, be easier still. Just to give you a quick glimpse. There's a summary of the hieroglyphs. They're the ones you'll see most of the time. And then you can go through different pages. Tell you what we'll do. We'll actually get the PDF up in a second, all right? So all you have to do then is you have to look at that and think, all right, what's that? Well, that's a flat bar, piece of land, something like that. Oh, well, the top one's not there. Oh, no, the wrong order. All right, so excuse the order. Obviously, this one should be above that one. All right, so there's the second one. It looks a little bit different on here, slightly stylized version. But as you can see, this is the land. This is things growing out of it. Perhaps it's something else. This is the tricky bit. And what you do with hieroglyphics then, you take the Welsh word for it, like this one is a mark or man. So you get ma, and ma means this place. It's very easy. This one here, we got cunid is to rise. Oh, can't see it. That's not good. Thank you, Arnie. All right. So sorry, these two are in the wrong order here. So there's the first one. Place, ma, man. So you got ma, this place. Very easy. Ma. This you can see here looks to me like it's slightly stylized, different to the one we normally see. But these are flowers or something growing out of the ground. So it's showing it's fertile, rising. So this place of fertility. These two are nice and simple. Oh, by the way, the animal or bird always points to the beginning of the sentence. So this is our next one we're going to decipher. If I got them in order. Yay. Oh, sorry, I should say, what do you think this is? Look familiar? Very Welsh look. Oh, I should put my other top on. There's a leek, you see. It's a bit damaged there, but you can see it's a leek. There's the leaves, there's the bulb, and there's the stalk. All right, so we've got there's the leak. So Kenin gives Kenad as a message. It's just a message. This turns up a lot. This little bird here, little chick, which is a Q. And Qurio, this is the amazing thing. You look up the physical word and you get the abstract one. Like, how would you draw a picture of being faithful or keep one's promises? I mean, it's almost impossible. The wonderful thing with hieroglyphs is, and the Welsh language, is you got this here is Q and Q. Curio is faithful, keeps one promise. So if you're talking about keeping a promise, you can draw a little chick. Wren's an interesting one. We'll come on to that one because we've got another word for druid, which I hadn't realised. I'll look into that. But the wrens generally have the pointed tail, so you can tell. So we go with chick. Okay, then we got here two of these. These like the cornstalks, Eden, air, just two airs, E. So he is supreme. If you get two of anything in Welsh, do is two, and do is God, supreme one. All right. So this is so two of anything gives you the God, and it's he is or she is. So he is supreme. This, anyone will guess what that is if you haven't seen it before? This is from above. It's the plan of a house. Oh, by the way, I have not worked out what these things are. All right. Just apart from the fertility one at the top, which Alan Wilson worked out anyway, nearly all of these are the standard Egyptian definitions of what they are. They're the standard things, like this is an ear of corn and things like that. That's just, the standard, what people think they are over a couple of 100 years. So it doesn't change that. What they haven't done before, they've tried every language, but they haven't tried Welsh. We've tried the Welsh language, it all works nice and easy. So this corn is Eden, so you get the air from that, he is supreme, all right? So this is the plan of a house. So house in Welsh is T. So T, there we are, so house, nice and easy, house of the Lord. This, I was just thinking it looks like an olive, but this is a slingshot, I've been told by a professor of Egyptology from Swansea University. But that's okay, so we've got slingshot there as well, which is priest, which makes more sense. And then this seems to be a bigger version of that, although with this damage we can't see the tail. So it all reads very simply, yeah? So you've got this fertile place, a message to the faithful, the supreme one in the house of the priest who is faithful, as in the cartouche, all right? So that's simple. There's no conjecture, you don't spend, if you look in the dictionary, you get, each hieroglyph has one option. It's not like what goes on. I'll just show you some of the dictionary. If you go to the normal hieroglyphs books, you'll find like the dictionaries by Budge, for example, which are the sort of still the standard works. You'll find in there. What's going on? Can't let me scroll. There we go. That's the whole book there. I want to stay on the dictionaries. Out of memory. Don't do that in the middle of a show, please. Uh-oh, that's not a good sign. Ah! Oh my goodness. Is that going to be an error? Is that catastrophic? Come on. Come on, computer. All right, let's try to switch back and forth again. Right, okay, all right. You got a glimpse. There's more of the dictionary. I better get rid of that PDF. Got too many things open. It is a big old show, all right? But if you look on there, you'll see a symbol. You got what it is, what that word is in Welsh, what gives the intended word, and there's the definition, all right? It's that easy. You now know how to do hieroglyphs, okay? It's taken you a few minutes to learn. It's supposed to take years and years and years, isn't it? It doesn't, as you can see. All right, so there's one done. That's nice and easy. Oop. Okay, so that's good. So we got the place here, the fertile place, message, the faithful, the divine one in the house of the priest who is faithful there. Okay, so it's nice and easy. That word struck me. If you look here, Duron as a druid. I was also looking, this will zoom in a second, made me, because you can get an old dictionary, old Welsh dictionaries, you can check these things for yourself. You don't even need a Hieroglyphics book. You don't need Wilson and Blackett's books. You can just look up the old Welsh words and you'll find all the words have a dual meaning. So you've got the physical one you can draw and then what you're trying to draw, okay? That's it, works very simply. So what we have here, notice, is that squiggle there, by the way, is a double D in the old dictionary, so it's dealt with. And dealt with is one who has knowledge who is present with a theologian, a druid. Interesting, isn't it? And then you got derwin, made of oak. So this is why people associate druids with oak trees. An oak is a derwen, and a druid a derwith. Let's just zoom in a bit there, look. It says derwin and oak, derwin. And derwin, oaken, made of oak. So if we look at their definition now of, I thought it was quite interesting about druids. One who has knowledge of, I'll help you because these squiggly things, that's an S. That's a the. You have to get the hang of them. So one who has a knowledge of or is prescient with a theologian, a druid. The office of the derwith. Hang on, so actually he's not actually the druid. He's present with a druid. So the office of the derwith was one. So I think the drion is the druid. That's what caught my eye. Because anyway, the office of the derwith was one of the 3 branches of the bardism of the island of Britain, and had the superintendence of morality and religion. It was filled alone by those who were first admitted into the order as primary bards, or oswyddion, being of itself not an admitting class. The appropriate place of meetings of the Dewyddion or Druids was called the Gwsva, which, as the name implies, is a place of presence, was an eminence, either natural or artificial, according to the conveniency of the situation. Thus, in Wales, where there could be no necessity of raising a mound, the meetings were generally held on some of the most remarkable hills. They always go for the higher ground, which goes all the way back to the Bible. Moses, talking about later, goes up the hill to get his 10 Commandments. The derwith may be considered as the deputy sent among the people from the Gorsev, I think that is, of the the Gorsev of the primitive bards, for the sake of diffusing instruction. Therefore, the Gwsva was a place designed chiefly like a pulpit to deliver discourses from. Isn't it wonderful? So you can read more of that yourself there. Just pause the video and come back to it. But anyway, the Bardic system is attested to have kept extremely clear from superstition, and what little it did acquire must have adhered wholly to the Druidic character, for he, being the residentiary pastor among the people, would from interest and policy endeavour to gain influence among those under his care. But he must have exerted much caution, as the whole of his principles are universally diffused in the Gorsedd. Not quite sure, it's a bit faded there. Anyway, right, okay, so how about that? So that's an interesting one. Right, so let's get back to this stone here quickly. Let's just read some of the comments. Okay, I seem to have drifted off subject a bit. Ark and Arton and all that kind of stuff. Okay, good. Anyways, good chat. Oh, right, so there's the big stone, okay? Right, let's do a little bit. There's a name, Merneptah Stele, all right? So I'm just going to, hang on a second. I just want to show you what the official thing on that is. I thought I had that ready. Merneptah. Right, okay. So let's just jump onto Wikipedia to get the mainstream thing accepted. You can see it's the same stone there. This is just bonkers when you read this, all right? Absolutely bonkers. So this is what's claimed, all right? I mean, it should be this is possibly or considered or whatever. Because I would say all of this is wrong, all right, just about. So the Merneptah, well, we don't know anyway. He's supposed to be the 4th pharaoh of the 19th dynasty of ancient Egypt, ruled Egypt for 10 years. They're doing this from hardly any information. It really is amazing that it's pointed down as facts when it's just conjecture and wishful thinking, really. Thank you. As is all this stuff about what's actually happening. It's a victory over the Libyans, blah, blah, blah. But what I want to get down to, so you can check this out yourself, okay? So it's discovered by Flinders Petrie. There we are. Pioneer in a system of looting on a large scale. Sorry, preservation of artefacts. He's actually got his own museum. He got so much stuff out. So what we're going to do is look at this stone. We'll come on to the translating this in a minute, because this is the weird bit. This is what they found, all right? It's a bit scruffy, but this is pretty close. So Petrie didn't know what this was. What's all this, right? And he says, don't forget, hang on. Come on, computer. So what he did, he transcribed all of it, which you'll be using. So you see, which is really, really handy. Not particularly well drawn, but good enough to work out what he's trying to show. So we've got lines 26 to 28. The princes are prostrate, saying, peace. Not one is raising his head among the 9 bows. Now that Tenehu, Libya, has come to ruin, Hatti is pacified. The Canaan has been plundered into every sort of woe. I mean, this is guesswork. Ashkelon has been overcome. Giza has been captured. Noam is made non-existent. Israel is laid waste, and his seed is not. So this is the key part here, right? It's become very important for showing support for the Bible, the Old Testament, or the Talmud, or whichever, existing in the hieroglyphs, which this doesn't. There is a lot of evidence that does, all right? So don't see this as me attacking the idea or anything like that, all right? Or pushing the idea. So anyway, when he found this, Petrie, this isn't me writing this, all right? This is on Wiki, all right? Petrie called upon William Spiegelberg, a German philologist, in his archaeological team to translate the inscription. Spiegelberg was puzzled by one symbol towards the end, that of a people or tribe whom Merneptah, also written Merneptah, had viciously smitten. Isiri'a. Petrie quickly suggested it read Israel. Spiegelberg agreed that this must be correct. Won't the reverends be pleased, remarked Petrie. At dinner that evening, Petrie, who realised the importance of the find, said, this stele or stellar or stone will be better known in the world than anything else I have found. The news of its discovery made headlines when it reached the English papers. And just look at it. This is just a great example of the nonsense of the standard hieroglyphs, okay? This can be an F, fair enough, all right? We'll come on to this in a second. One of my favourite hieroglyphs is this little horned adder here, horned snake, okay, horned viper. All right, so we've got all of those symbols there. 1, 2, 3, a group of 3s. We'll call that 1, 4, 5. Gives us PRT somehow. Is this the worst, clumsiest writing system ever in the history of the world? B, well, that's bear, because it's leg in Welsh, bear. That's the to floats, novio, all right, so BN, we can get that. So BN is negative, all right, I guess. So why isn't it every time we see negative, we don't see these two? This lot, presumably from about here somewhere, all is supposed to mean waste. I mean, and this is Israel, and I don't know how they did it. Now, one of the things you might have spotted here, right to left script. Okay. With hieroglyphs, always, wherever you go, same everywhere, there's no exceptions. The birds and the pointers, like little snakes and everything like that, they're all pointing to the start of the sentence. It reads that away. You are not allowed to just swap it around to make it read a better story. And in fact, it's been double switched. If you look at the original, it's the other way around. They've read it and then switched it back to make the sentence seem to make more sense. It's a con. It's absolutely outrageous. And as it describes here, they're just sitting there going, what do you think this means? But, and he's like, oh, I don't know. I say, old chap, it could be Isiri'a. That sounds a bit like Israel. Fantastic. You cracked it, old boy. They've laid waste to Israel. Hurrah. This is going to be so famous. We'll get loads of money and we'll make a top-notch budgets to go and spend years and years out in the desert making up stuff. It's fantastic. And it's things like this nonsense here. Determinatives. I mean, just read this, all right? While Ashkelon, Giza, and Noam are given the determinative for a city, a throw stick, this is a throw stick now, because they've thrown a stick. And these dots are 3 mountains. The hieroglyphs don't refer to Israel, instead employ the throw stick, the determinative for foreign, plus a sitting man and woman, the determinative for people, over 3 vertical lines, a plural marker. I mean, does anyone ever... How do they get away with this for so long? Thank goodness Alan Wilson came along. They got away with this for 200 years. It's rubbish. The determinative people, well, you can see what it is. That's a ruler. You can tell by the headdress and everything. This is the person talking or explaining. And this is three. It's tree in Welsh. It's got to mean. This is the finger pointing. It's Biths, all right? So I need my notes just so I can... alternative. And this is the fun bit with hieroglyphics. Because you've got alternative translations. So they're not even agreed, right? So it says, well, it might read Israel. But someone else says it could be Jezreel, a city in a valley in northern Canaan. And someone else says it's referring to the wearers of the sidelock. And these are only minority interpretations. There's discussions and votes about it. And the Merneptah Stele is considered to be the first extra-biblical reference to ancient Israel in ancient history. And here's the problem. You're into the politics. So this is huge now. I mean, I'm probably in trouble for, I don't know, disputing this. Should we sort of put politely? Let's say we're disputing it. So that's how that one works, all right? That's the Madness Bonkers version. Now, this is good timing because it does help when we go to Moses and all that kind of stuff, all right? So if we look at... let's get back onto here. Because the bit we're reading is down here somewhere. So there we are, it's picked out. Israel is wasted, its seed is not. Just great imagination. So I just read you this, actually. It's already here. There's a little passage, okay. And this is how they've done it. Now, I haven't written this all out because it's just using hieroglyphs. It's so easy, okay. So there it is. Same again. Every time you see it, there's none of this conjectures or arguments or discussions or interpretations or conjectures or some people think this and some people think that. How could a writing system ever work like that? I mean, seriously. You got guys here who spent decades and decades and decades becoming professors and they're still not sure what it means. I mean, come on. How could you read or write something so vague? All this lot here apparently is Israel. All that clump there. I mean, it's just madness. All right, so let's go with hieroglyphics. Each hieroglyph is a word. So again, got two of them. So it's the divine one, okay? So divine, and you got secure, and then God, and this is a mouth. It's a mouth proclaiming, okay? He is or she is. Now you have to allow for Welsh syntax. This confuses people, not if you're a Welsh speaker. So for example, instead of saying you are a good boy, talking to little boys, oh, you're a good boy. In Welsh, you would say, there's a good boy you are. You must have heard people say these things. So that explains the word order. Everyone's pointing to the left, so we start from here. So the supreme one, a certain God, proclaimed a certain God he is. So, right, he is the supreme one, proclaimed the certain God. All right, these things act like full stops, except at the beginning of a sentence. You can translate them as proclaimed or something like that, but I think it's easier to think them as a full stop. And here's the next sentence, all right? So again, the mouth, same as it meant there, it meant proclaimed, it means proclaimed here. So we got proclaimed one, there's the finger, Biff, hang on a second. I did have to make some notes this time because I'm a little bit rusty. Eternal, that's right, that means eternal. It's not a finger, it is a finger, but it means eternal. Then we got the two people, which I'm not 100% certain what that means. It looks like someone proclaiming and someone talking about and the ruler. And there's the Trinity, all right? Trinod, which can mean certainty. But I also wonder if it does actually apply to the Holy Trinity, the religion that we're still coming through. Here's my favourite. Again, this is the ffordd, it's the way. Because what we got here is the fork is the key. Look how big that is compared to the rest of the steak. On a real one, it's a little tiny thing like this. This is the genius of Wilson and Blackett there. Ffordd is way. And I think this is significant. It's the way, as in the religious way. This is why it's really important. So the way Kel, this is a basket. You can see a little handle there. This is to secrete or to keep safe away. And this is the cake you are. And then, again, we got this word here. This little dutiful, remember, or faithful. Bear, still the leg, still mean the same as it did the last thing we translated. Mean the fair and novio, to keep. All right, and we got this one here. Hang on a second. That is an enclosure. Again, looking from above. Just write myself. That is to consecrate. Here's the mouth, to speak or proclaim. Proclaim. you are. We'll make this into a sentence in a minute, all right? This is fascinating, I think, because here we got the 1 and the 3. So are we talking about the 1 and the 3, like the idea of a trinity? 1 becoming 3 or the 3 becoming 1? Or is that just the... So this is where you do have a little bit of conjecture, if you like, without someone to tell you. Because normally the circle is Ra, but it's usually bigger than that. It's the sun. In Welsh, you still got the same word. It's Israel in modern Welsh, but it's a Ra. It's the spelling. If you look at it, it's Israel, Ra. It's still in the Welsh language. Ra is the power or the sun. And there it is again, the way. This is the way. The way. We still call it the way, the religious way. So it's a bit of a long sentence here, so we're just going to have a quick rattle through. So proclaim the one of eternity. You got these two talking about the Trinity, or the ruler is talking about the Trinity, could be that. You are the one to keep the way safe faithfully, and to beautifully keep. Then what was the sanctuary again? Hang on. Oh yeah. And you are to proclaim the consecration of 1 into 3 and the way. It just reads, and it just reads all the time. So here's 2 of my favourites. Look at this one. This is one. I didn't go through the whole thing. If you go through the big one, how are we doing for time? Yeah, we'll have a little crack at some of it. Because you can read loads and loads and loads of it quite quickly once you get the hang of it, okay? There's a few I had to look up, but most of them, they're not very imaginative writers. The same symbols repeat a lot, okay? But why on earth would you have this, which you can clearly see, by the way, on the... I thought I copied it down. Perhaps it's in the latest slide. You've got a pot walking. Why would you have a pot walking? Mad, isn't it? Why would you have a pot walking? How can you possibly explain that to use something like the Welsh language? Where you've got a pot is crochan and treading sathri. Croesawi is hospitable. It's one of my favourites because the idea of a pot with legs is just so surreal. It's like Dali-esque. And there's this one which I love, the forked horned viper. Forch is for, which is the row, the way, the ford, and because this comes up a lot, and it always seems to have some sort of reference to this Trinity and divinity and all that kind of stuff. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Oop. I do want to just, I thought I did a close-up on that, so what have I done with a close-up on that? Oh, I just want to read a passage for you. Because it just reads easily like this anyway. Because this is actually, it is fascinating. Oh, where's the blown up versions I did? What I did, the problem is, remember I was saying about the birds representing the beginning of a sentence? So it's not quite the beginning of the sentence. And you also see it's the wrong way around. See the, it's too small for you to see now, isn't it? Oh, I have to come back to this. But anyway, you can see the little snake there. They're going left to right, not right to left as they show it on Wikipedia and everywhere else. This is the original. It goes that way. And the people are pointing. That's why you read it right to left, because that's the way they're pointing. But it's not the beginning of the sentence, you see? Because here is where the bird is. I hope you can see that. And there's actually the first symbol, which is missed out in the translation as well. And this is a libation. It's actually pouring. You can't really see it here, but anyway, this is pouring something. So you're pouring a libation. So this whole thing is about a blessing. And it continues, you see? Oh, I've got to read this. I'll have to do another video on it. Because there's so many other things on there, which are really cool. Like the hair is honour. That's honour. It's got the honour of this place to keep. And then you've got the mattress. You can just read it anyway. You can just read it. All right? Just get the book. Get the Hieroglyphics book. Have a go yourself. And I'd love if someone could translate all of this. It wouldn't take that long. I'm just reading through some of it now. I mean, it's, nothing to do with the story they tell you it is. Anyway, better crack on. So there's 2 of my favourites. Although, my absolute favourite, I can't stop myself because I love it. I tell you, when I got that question, I started doing this. It's one of the reasons we're a little bit late today because I got really tied up in it. One of the combinations, I did a blow up of this. You see a lot. Can you see right down the bottom there? There's a goose and a sun. There's one there. There's a goose and a sun. I think that there's another one there, goose and the sun. There's a couple more if you look closely. And that's another one of my favourite. That's my favourite combo. Because what you have, like we're saying, the sun, the power is Ra. Ra, sun, power. Ra, you've all heard of Ra. Still Ra, sun in Welsh. Ra. And Gwydd is the goose. And Guiv means this presence, this word you're talking about in this old dictionary. There's about presence as prescience, it's knowledge. Knowledge is Guiv. So you got knowledge of the power, Ragwydd. But put them together, Ragwydd, that's the word for the Lord. So it's the Lord who has the knowledge of the presence, of the power. I mean, it's just so powerful. It's so fantastic. And it makes so much more sense than two posh blokes sitting there going, I reckon it could say Israel. And that's it. It's just a guess. It's not based on anything apart from that. Goose is a solar symbol. Quite possibly. I'd love to see a Hieroglyphics translation. Crack on, Brad. Have a go at it, bud. I would like someone more knowledgeable to review Archaic's work. I don't know that. Archaic's work. Right, okay, let's crack on with this then, shall we? So Israel Stele debunked, so hopefully we've debunked that. But what we haven't debunked is the idea of there being evidence of the Old Testament in the Bible. Quite the opposite. There's fantastic evidence for it. But proper evidence, all right? Not just some bloke wishful thinking that might say Israel and the seed is saved but not the thing, or I don't know, some nonsense. Okay. So first of all, we're going to look at the basic story of Moses, all right? Now, if you've got the book, Moses and the Hieroglyphs, this is chapter 10. I'm going to be adding a little bit of my own thoughts as well, of course, as I always do, just take things a little stretch. Because contrary to popular belief, Wilson and Blackett are actually very, very conservative. They stick very literally to the written word and what's there, all right? So if you'll go through, I'm hoping everyone knows their basic Bible stories. Although, in what we're going to be using mostly as reference, what Wilson and Blackett use, is actually the Talmud and the works of Josephus, with the Bible very much in the background, okay? Not ranking them, it's just I think there's not a lot about Moses in the Bible, bizarrely. Okay, so let's go back a little bit. We've got Jacob. I love this depiction. Thank you, Angie. Angie found some pictures for me to use. Here's one. Jacob looking very, weird. So there's Jacob. And if you remember the musical and everything, that's you could have played, didn't it? Coat of Many Colours. Down there's Jacob, coat of many colours. Jacob's the one who had the 12 tribes of Israel, all right? Joseph and all those. Joseph is the one who became the viceroy of Egypt. This is important. There's no way these were just peasant shepherds like you see in the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, or with kind of the image we presented in church and everything. You don't just get to walk in and speak to the Pharaoh, you know, if you're just some lowly shepherd boy. However good you claim to be at dreams and things. These were an important people. And we'll come on to who they were. Because this is ancient British ancestry going way, way, way back to the Bible, okay? So the 12 sons, Joseph being the most famous. Also got Levi. They're known as the Levites. I know there's going to be loads of comments now because so many people know more about this than I do. But here we go. Got the Levites, who became known as the lawmakers and that. And of course, Moses is a descendant of Levi. Levi, a son called Kaheth, and a daughter called Jochebed. And then from there was Amram. So we got Amram actually married his auntie. Well, that's the female married his uncle. But anyway, the point is, the two parents, he's Levi on both sides, okay? All right, so this is the basic story. So what I want to do is Levi, they're the lawgivers. Right, before we get into that, now I just want to do a little bit of background on the basic story of, actually, it's not easy to see you out on screen, actually, yeah. Moses, I'm sure everyone knows. When Moses is born, there's a pogrom going on where all Hebrew sons are going to be killed. So the idea is Moses is hidden by his mother into a little basket. She's floated down the river. When the royal princesses discovers the basket, discovers the baby, they adopt the baby. You know, who would just kill a baby? That'd be a pretty horrific kind of person. And they brought, so he was raised, the key point is Moses is adopted and he's raised in a royal court. And then he takes on positions of responsibility, even though he's not actually a member of the royal family, or the empirical family in this case. There's the very important points you got to remember about him, okay? Because what we're going to see, what Wilson Blackett show, is the same story is repeated elsewhere. And it's a reasonable thing. We're going to try and see if it's reasonable to realise that the same story has been repeated and it's the same person being talked about in at least 4 different situations, okay? That's the gist of it. Right, now one of the things, when he's a baby, Moses was given a test. In a second, let's just move my Hieroglyphics book. Very nice job he did on the American version, thank you. I'll bring up the chapter on the PDF as well. Let's see my computers and do that memory error thing again. I just want to make sure I get this right now. So we're on page 287. Just read a little bit. So Moses was born the son of Amram. We'll go through the names in a minute. I've just done the ancestry. Right, so in the Talmudic accounts, there was a magician called Bilam, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there, son of Beor, at the Pharaoh's court, who foretold the birth of Moses, who would destroy Egypt, and he advised the Pharaoh to kill the child. The Pharaoh called a council of his 3 advisors, Bilam, Job, and Reuel the Midianite. And Reuel advised that the Hebrews would be released from Egypt and permitted to go to Canaan. This is not what the Pharaoh wanted to hear. So he sent Reuel away, and Reuel returned to Midian. Job sat on the fence and said, well, are not the inhabitants of Egypt in the hands of the king? Whatever is up to you, mate. You know, do what you like. But Bilam, the son of Beor, strongly advised that all the Hebrew male children should be thrown into the river Nile. So he's the one behind it, Bilam, okay? Balaam sometimes referred to, so you've got the Baal connotations. We're not going to get into the different religious struggles going on between Baal and the different types and the changing from sheep to from bulls to sheep, all that kind of thing. That's for another day. Hey, or in this way, the only way by throwing all the males into the sea, this is the only way to guarantee it. Okay, no trouble. So Miriam kept Moses for 3 months before placing him in his tiny basket to float down to where Princess Tumuthis, also known as Bathia, was playing. And this is where we get the interesting situation next. Hang on a second. So Princess Tumuthis found him. Got all these kind of scenes. Now what's curious about Moses is he's got lots of different names. And this is where things get confusing. I mean, a lot of names. So the Moses, which that's funny, because classically it's meant drawn, but what you'll see with the Welsh, you got Musef, he's of the basket, he of the basket. Okay? So the mother called him drawn. Not the mother, sorry, the princess who found him, because she's drawn him out of the water. The real names are a very precious thing. So you had, he's the one we got out of the water. His father, because the child was returned years later when he's a bit older, so the father called him Heber, as in reunited with the family. The mother, Jochebed, if you remember, she called him Yekathiel, hoped in God. So I think it's the child that she wished for. And then we've got all these other names you're going to see: Moses, Musif, Sinuhe, Masilis, and most importantly, for what we're doing, Rahotep, okay? So we'll get on to that, all right? So there's all these different names. Yeah, this is an interesting one here, a bit of Poussin as well here. These paintings, as you'll see in where Jesus is buried, not this one particularly, you have to really look carefully at them to work out what is being described. You know, what's going on here? Why is there a bow and arrow hanging on the tree, and the colours they're wearing and all this kind of stuff? Because it doesn't look like ancient Egypt by any means, does it? There's no way that's an ancient Egyptian scene. There's no desert or anything, the clothes, all that kind of stuff. So very interesting there, the Poussin stuff. Right, so let's follow the story a bit further now. So Moses loves these cartoony pictures. Moses lives at the Pharaoh's palace. Yeah, then we have his first marriage. We're going to jump forward slightly from where the book goes. Wilson and Blackett do tend to sort of do this. Not too bad in your reading, difficult sometimes. So we forget that he was married. Now, he married a princess of the royal blood. The major factor which has been previously prevented the identification of Moses in Egypt has been the near complete lack of any organised analysis of the history. This is the problem, because the chronology of ancient Egypt's all over the place. And even the dating of the Bible's pretty poor. how can you possibly slot in the right people with the events in the Bible? For example, story of Moses now, we're looking around about 1400 BC, which would tie in with Thera and the volcano and the disasters, the plagues that inflicted on Egypt. All that ties in with 1400. But the Egyptians, the pharaohs and that he's obviously a crucial part of the story, in the conventional history, they've been dated at 2400 BC. So that's why you can't find the biblical evidence. You're looking 1,000 years out. Who would look 2400 BC for events that took place in 1400 BC? It would just never work, would it? So the situation we have then is his first marriage. Right, so in a second. Yes, so what emerges from primary research is that Moses lived in the era of the 4th and 5th dynasties. I'll tell you what, actually, let's put this on screen as soon as I got it ready. Oh, there's the Stele. I just realised there it is. Oh, no. I knew I had it somewhere. I converted it into a PDF. That's what I did, yeah, so we can zoom in and have a really good look at it. Oh, no, I'm so gutted now. Yeah, there's a goose and sun. The bit that they think is Israel is line 27. Sorry, I have to just go back. Where's the little... hang on. Line 25, 26, 27. Come on, where's the little snake? Where are you? Oh, yeah, there's a snake. See, it looks a lot different on here, doesn't it? So this is the way you are the one to keep the way faithfully. There's the people with the thing. We're reading that way. But if you look, see, the key is as well, the sentence, the bit that says Israel, what I just mentioned, is all of this. Yeah. There's some cracking stuff I want to discuss on it. All right, if we do have another time, like this is an enclosure on the land, and so many cool things. But anyway, missed my chance. All right, so this is what we're reading. You can probably pause this, and I might even make this available as a download. Also, you want to buy the whole books better. Right, now the other thing is... Right, let's go back to the life. All right, we're going to jump back again now. He gets married into the royal family, okay? We'll come back to this.
I cannot see the screen, Dad.
Oh. Thanks, Aunt. So it's me getting all excited to show you this. Yeah. So there's a big lag, so I can't tell what you're seeing for quite a while. Anyway, so here's just to show you, there's line 25, 26, 27. So if we look across here for the little snake... There he is. So it looks a bit different to how they show it on Wikipedia, but this is the original sketch by Petrie. So there's the hawk viper, you see. So the way, shelter the way. You are to shelter the way faithfully. And you got these people of the Trinity. So I'm not quite sure exactly what that is. But anyway, to proclaim the eternal one. So that's the end of that sentence. Actually going this way. It's great, isn't it? So you can read loads. There's the goose and sun, look. Says Hieroglyph. There's another one we get to see. There's to proclaim a message. You are the great one. And then there's the message inside it. And you can read all this. You can read it. It's actually good fun. It's quite easy. Anyway, let's get back to the Moses story. Right, so a couple of important things. According to the Talmud, when Moses was young, hang on, let's zoom in a bit. Will let me zoom in. Great. I'll have to get rid of that one as well. Hang on a second. Will you let me zoom in now, please? Yes. So when Moses was playing with anything handy, in the Talmud accounts, he grabbed the crown and put it on his head. Pharaoh was very superstitious, and they put the crown in one side and some flame, and he put the flame to his mouth, which is supposed to be how he became the damaged mouth and couldn't speak properly. But it also showed he was not trying to grab the crown. It's all a bit weird. But the thing I want to get into is this. Where was Ethiopia? Because the idea is then, right, so when Moses grew older, and as an adult he began to become powerful, he learnt of the attempts of Bilam, son of Beor, who was trying to kill him as a baby. It was probably Biafra, son of Beon, to have him killed as a child. His growing enmity towards Bilal then caused Bilam to flee to the land of Ethiopia. So where's he gone? And this is where matters become interesting, because everyone assumes it's down into Ethiopia and Africa. Show some weird things in a minute. There were in antiquity 2 countries called Ethiopia. One lay to the south of Egypt, along the upper reaches of the Nile, which is the one we're familiar with today, more or less. It's a bit different, but that kind of area. While the other Ethiopia lay far to the north in Chaldean Hittite lands. How can that be? So in Egypt, we'll show you. In Egypt, Moses killed an Egyptian who he saw mistreating a Hebrew, and as a result he was forced to flee from Egypt. And this account appears in the Bible. The Talmud accounts are interesting, because the Talmud says, it came to pass in those days that the Assyrians rebelled against Kikanes. I like that, sounds like kick-ass. Kick-ass, the king of Ethiopia, to whom they were under tribute. The Assyrians were under tribute to the Ethiopians. So Ethiopia must have been pretty powerful, and you would think it's got to be pretty close to Syria, okay? So Kick-ass appointed Bilam, the son of Beor, who had fled from Egypt to be representative in his absence, marched forth with a large army and subdued the Assyrians. So he came back with an Ethiopian army. So if the Assyrians of around 1350 were a tributary nation to Ethiopia, then it follows that the Ethiopia referred to as Northern Kingdom and not that in northwest Africa to the south of Egypt. All right, so we can shed some light on that. Okay, so what we got here? Right, the first thing is we got different places. Yeah, one of the things we know about. Hang on, let's go back to my presentation. I've got no chance to rehearse these things. It's all done in one go. So he gets married. So what about the Kassite Empire? This is what we're talking about there. In the Bible, it talks about the Hikau Kaswet or the Hikau Kaswet. What we're saying here is they're the Kassites. So more likely meaning than shepherds. So where is the Ethiopia of the Bible? So one of the places we know about visited is Haran. So let's try looking on a map, all right? No editing with this. They do it live, isn't it? All right, so let's just do it nice and simple. Oop, make sure you can see what I'm doing there. Let's just type Haran in. Where is it? Where is Haran? Well, so as you expect to find it, it's a town in Turkey. So we go to it's a map. Let's have a map. So if we zoom out, this is the area, and this is what Wilson and Blackett are talking about. It's still got Syria. You used to have the Syrian Empire here. There's Iraq. There's all the other places we know about, going back to Ur and the ancient rivers and all this kind of stuff. Everything's in this area. This is the area where it is. This is where our ancestors came from, okay? This is what we're looking at for our area. So if we go through the places, if we look at the Kassite Empire, who were the Kassites? Right, the Kassites. Let's look where their empire was. Map of Iraq. Kassite dynasty. Oop. So if you look at the map again, there's the Tigris and the Euphrates. This is Iraq. It's the same area again, okay? Also mentioned in the Bible, you got Tyana. Again, Central Anatolia. It's there, within Turkey. You can look up all these places. The Hittites. It's all about the Hittites. Also known there, in case you think we make a mistake, as I don't know how Wilson and Blackett did all this before the internet. I have no idea. I just don't know. It blows my mind. I have to search for everything and I can find it, but I mean, they have to find it all in books and stuff. It's phenomenal. And I know what to look for. Right, so 2 an hour. 2 an hour is one of the principal settlements of the regions, along with Bisana, Landa. This is interesting, you see, because I can't find some of these places now, but they're listed here. Sasasara, Hawasana, Kuniawani. So the south-central Anatolia region is referred to the lower land in Hittite sources, and its population was mainly Luwian speakers. And I think that's the Cymry. All right, the Luwians were a group of Anatolian people. It's not Wilson and Blackett now, this is me saying this. Anatolian people who lived in central, western and southern Anatolia in present-day Turkey during the Bronze Age and Iron Age. They speak the Luwian language. Hang on, let's jump around a little bit more about them. to connect the debate over the original homeland of the Indo-European speakers, because it's the original Indo-European language. When they're trying to work out what the stuff they found there says and what it means, it's the same as hieroglyphs. They won't try Welsh. It's so frustrating and so bizarre. So the suggestions for the homeland include present-day Armenia, Iran, the Balkans, but none of these people speak the language. So little can be proven about the route that led the ancient ancestors of the Luwians to Anatolia. It's also unclear whether the separation of the Luwians from the Hittites and the Pleiadic speakers occurred in Anatolia or earlier. They don't know. They just do not know. But it all ties in with the Hittites. Excuse me, and there's more places. When you look at the story of Moses, you've got again, so you just mentioned that. That's in Iraq, just down there. So if you go north from Iraq, then we've got, when we come to the kings, we look at the story of Moses, you've got people like Hattusili, which we'll come on to in a moment. Hattusili. Hattusili is the Hittite Old Kingdom. Again, look at the dates. We're talking 1500s. We're not talking 2400. The dates are getting much nearer, within 100 years of what we're thinking of now. And look what these people became. He used the title of Labana. I hope Luke's out there watching this, or Luke will watch it. I'm speaking to Luke again soon. Labana. All this goes back then to the the British histories now. You can trace it all the way back. Labana became a title, a bit like Caesar for the Romans. So Labana was the great kings, right? So you got a few Labanas. You got Labana II. But that's not their only name. That's their title, all right? So we can try, like, for example, Hattusili I. He's a Labana, if you like. You know, a Labana II, but I'll just call him a Labana. So look through the Hattusili. Once again, we got the Akkadian language. I would love to have a real crack at this, what do they call it, the cuneiform that they read. Then you got all about the conquests and the stories and all this kind of stuff. This is a vast, vast subject. Here's another place mentioned in the Bible, Gihon. All right, the Gihon Spring. Now, listen to this. This is interesting here, right? The Gihon is the name of the second river mentioned in the second chapter of Genesis. The Gihon is mentioned in one of the four rivers, along with the Tigris, Euphrates, Pishon, issuing out the Garden of Eden. Well, we know where the Tigris is, that's right in the middle of Iraq. We know where the Euphrates is, that's right in the middle of Iraq. And the Pishon as well. You can also work out that one. Hang on, we'll go on to that because this is where we see some of the madness. So unlike the Tigris and the Euphrates, the Pishon has never been clearly located. It's a good chance it's going to be near though, yeah? It is briefly mentioned together with the Tigris in the wisdom of Sirach, but his reference throws no more light on the location of the river. Some say it's the Ganges, and then you've got the Ethiopian links, but it doesn't work, so it doesn't surround it. You can look into this yourself more. Same then. Medum we'll come on to in a minute. We're back into Egypt. All right, let's get back to the presentation. I'm charging around here. What I really want to do is, hang on. Let's go back to the book. The trouble is, these things is so hard. There's so much background. All right, so the question is, if the Assyrians were around 1370, were a tributary nation to Ethiopia, then Ethiopia we're talking about is not the one all the way down in Africa. It's the one right next to it. All the places refer to it. This whole Ethiopian thing seems to be a red herring. So I'm sorry, Ethiopians, that's going to get me in trouble, I'm sure. You get Somalis already after me about the punt thing. Anyway, so Bilam, there's no offence intended, right? We're just following history. So Bilam, the son of Beor, was unfaithful to his trust. So Bilam got put in charge of the armies. He's broken the trust, and he's turned on them. He's basically had a coup, right? So he must, what Wilson and Blackett argue, he must have had some royal connections because at least some of the people followed him. So when the king returned, when King Kickass returned, I'm going to keep calling him that because I bet everyone remembers his name now. When he returned with his army, he was amazed to witness the preparations for defence which had been made during his absence. And he thought that the people had feared an attack from the kings of Canaan while he was away, and had prudently made ready for it. But when the gates of the city were closed against him, and he called in vain to have them opened, then he had to fight a war which went on for 9 years with severe losses. Okay. just want to say a quick picture then about their... This is interesting, I always think. Obviously, 157 years ties in with the generations going back to when Joseph brought the Hyksos. Right, so let's look at interesting now. We got the Ethiopians. So what Wilson and Blackett, the point they're making is that Moses actually went back up through the Middle East, through modern day Israel, countries like that, and up into Syria. And then above Syria, you've got the Hittite lands, you've got Anatolia, okay? Which makes a lot more sense then, why the Ethiopians, the Hittites, placed Moses upon their throne, because the king died. Bilam was kicked out. He had to flee. Sorry, go back one. Bilam had to flee back to Egypt. The king was dead. Bilam's been kicked out. So Moses becomes the king, effectively. He gets to marry the widow of Kikas. But Moses remembered the teachings of his fathers, how Abraham made his servant swear he would not bring a daughter of the Canaanites to be the wife of Isaac. So it even says there, we're talking, she was a Canaanite. The wife, at least, was a Canaanite. So all this is taking place in that Middle East area. Thou shalt not take a wife from the daughters of Canaanites, neither shalt thou intermarry the descendants of Ham. Therefore the widow of Kikanus was a wife to Moses in name only. All right? There's another rebellion, but Moses subdued them. Okay. So this extraordinary account of Moses is generally ignored. I mean, people don't think of this with Moses, do they? We all know the story of going to the Pharaoh, let my people free, and he won't. So the 10 plagues, if you like, get afflicted on the Egyptians. All the dreadful things happen. You all know the 10 different things, which culminates in the firstborn children and the Passover, absolutely integral part of the Jewish faith. And that's all very well recorded. And then you've got the Charlton Heston scene where the water's open and he leads the army through, and the Pharaoh with his chariot, Yulbrynner, he all get drowned, which also been covered in the book where that happened, not where we're told. The Red Sea was not where the Egyptian army perished. They'll never find it looking there. But that's another story. There's so much in here. Everything's a detour. Right. So the extraordinary account of Moses is generally ignored, possibly because it conflicts with biblical ideas. Yeah, I mean, Moses, how many people realise from the Bible that Moses was a general? He was a royal. He was a general. He was taking over. He actually ran kingdoms. He was very senior. The geography of the record is, however, worth looking at. If this refers to the northern Ethiopia, we've already gone through that, which appears to be the ancient Chaldean or Hittite imperial state of Syria, and the Anti-Taurus up to the Black Sea, then it makes sense that it's bordered by Canaan, Edom, and Assyria. All the countries mentioned in the story are up there. The geography also fits with Abraham, the great-grandfather of Moses, leaving the northern remember, Haran is where he comes from, some 50 miles from Haran, and being a member of the nobility of that region. Everything fits. This is the great thing with Wilson and Blackett. It's amazing how much abuse they get. They just take everything and make it work. So whilst modern versions... Hang on a second. Can I zoom in? Yes, I can slightly. I hope that helps everyone, especially on a phone or something. So while modern versions of Abraham picture him as a relatively poor, wandering sheep herder, meandering with his small family group in search of pastures, this fairy tale is clearly unrealistic and untrue. Flavius Josephus describes Abraham, and other traditions make him a powerful tribal leader. The journey south by Abraham was not made across empty rolling plains and the wilderness of the 16th to 19th century North America, but instead through densely populated areas where good land was relatively scarce and was already owned. You've got to fight your way through. You've got to know the people or fight your way through or get permission. If you're coming through with large flocks, they're going to eat the grass, they're going to drink the water, and other people are not going to be happy about it. All right, so we've done a bit about the Hittites. You can have a read this yourself. So he's fighting wars. He's a general, okay? This is the point here. So the bigger picture, if we begin to see Abraham, Esau, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, and Moses, I think all of those, yeah, pretty much all of those are described in this book and how you can read them on the hieroglyphs and who they really were. So as princes of a great imperial royal clan, then the scenario becomes clear. Pharaohs of Egypt did not casually associate with or meet with mere wandering shepherds. They didn't make them viceroys in charge of their country either. So the first thing is then, this is got the different identities of Moses now. All right, we'll start coming towards an end soon. So Moses becomes Merciless. There's a happy ending to this, by the way. I meant to mention at the beginning. There's a great message of peace in all this. There should be. I meant to mention that at the beginning. Right, so, okay. So we've got Libanus again. Luke would love this. And I know with Marchell, her work, you're tying in with Libanus and the British migration stories. And if you think the British migration stories are all nonsense and just myths and legends, how do they know the names? How do they know these areas? How did some wandering Celt, as they're supposed to be, just wandering across Germany and France, settles in Britain, decides to invent a story that ties in with the geography, the languages, the written accounts, the physical accounts of a land 1,000 miles away, or whatever it is, 2,000-3,000 miles away, that they've never been to? It's got to be their history, isn't it? Surely. How else can you explain it? So we've got these places already shown you, all these places traced down to Syria, although it's quite hard to find some of them, I have to admit. Now the great thing is here we've got the Hik-au-Kiswet. A Kaswet are supposed to be these shepherds, right? This is in the Bible, that's what we're told. The Hik-au-Kaswet. Again, it's more Greek nonsense. Kaswet seems very likely, especially all the correlating evidence to Kassite. Where did the Kassite Empire go? If you haven't heard the Kassite Empire, where does it say Kassites? Should be there. I did have that ready. All right, anyway, I'll just look up Kassites quickly. This is where I spelled Kassites wrong. Oh, here we go. And here it is again. Look, same area. You starting to recognise this map? There's Assyria. This is where all the stories are supposed to have happened. I also noticed there's a Kish there. I wonder if that's Kish has caused the confusion with Cush. Here's all the places. Again, the same place, Assyria. There's the Euphrates. There's the Tigris. Getting nearer to the period once you sort out the chronology. And this is where the Kassites were, and they seem to have vanished from history. And it's also with the Hyksos in the Bible, who are a bunch of shepherds, appear in the Bible. So there's another one you can look at there, and there's the names. You can throw all the names. It's something that amazingly Wilson and Blackett does. And this caught my eye. The Kassite language has not been classified. They don't know who they are because they're not looking for the right people, are they? There's some Akkadian names. There should be a bit of a link there that should spot it. Hang on a second. They actually look like hieroglyphs, don't they? So you got the Akkadian anyway, which again, you'll find this Akkadian language is what they're... I'd like to say it's Welsh because it's obviously... This language is spread all over the place. It's one of the original languages to form the Indo-European language group. So you'll see traces of it all over the place. It's just with Cymraeg, it's been stuck right on the edge of Europe. It hasn't really been invaded or until recent times anyway, and the language has stayed remarkably consistent. One reason I would say is, as shown in the hieroglyphs, where words have two meanings. You've got the physical meaning, and you've got this kind of, what's the word? What do they call it in, I'm trying to think of the accounting term. Intangibles. Intangibles. So, like, cross. You can draw a cross, easy, croix, welcome, croiso. A lot more difficult to draw, so croix, croiso. So, you can be really careful messing about with the language, because if you change, say, the word for cross to, I don't know, box or something completely different, it no longer has this duality. It doesn't work. So you've got the physical object, physical name, intangible name in a triangle. It's very difficult to move one without breaking the triangle. So I think that's why it stayed so consistent. And it's important because the modern Welsh, they're making a lot of changes to it, which is quite concerning. Well, it is to me anyway. I shouldn't imagine many people that bother. Right, okay, so where are we going here? Right, I need to speed up. Oh my goodness, 25 to 10. Got to get to some good bits. Okay, anyway, so we have the same story again. This is the point of this. You can read it all again. You have to get battering rams. They have to fight battles. Oh, my computer's struggling. Go away, little picture. Look at that, someone called Santa Claus there. Santa's. Nope. Okay, I'm going to have to wing that bit because my computer's not going to do it. Okay, it's not going to work there. All right, so where's Haran? Let's look on a map. Here's one of the places, Tuvanuva in Cappadocia in Turkey. Ancient place. Anyway, so if we covered some of this already, so if they were a tributary nation to Ethiopia, then everything points to Ethiopia being a major power. Okay, so we got Hattusilis, so he's Labanus II. And the curious thing is there, this Masilis, I'll go through the whole story again, you can read the book, but the whole story of Moses is repeated when you read the story of Masilis. This is the point we're trying to get to. Which would be even better if you could see it on the screen. Thank you, yeah. So we got the story of Labanus II is succeeded by Masilis, and the key is Masilis was adopted. In exactly the same way as Moses was adopted, Masilis was adopted. You got the same story. If you follow the story of Masilis, military campaigns, all that kind of stuff, who he marries, it all ties in again. More parallels with Moses. So the proposition Wilson and Blackett are making, I think, as I read it, is that they are the same person. Moses is this Hittite prince, Masilis. And also, the same thing again, the same sort of story. There was disgraced heirs, there was a rebellion, there was a battle, which you find Alan Wilson talking about in his speech, if you watch their Arc 3 speech, whereby they turned on their father, there's a big civil war, and they were killed. Masilis becomes the general, but then he gets disposed as the sort of troublemaking heirs put back on the throne because they are the royal blood. Oops, some random pictures here. There's some of the pictures we found. We weren't too sure where to put them. Right, I'm going to get the story of Medum now. Right, I'm going to get to the final now, the big finale. Jump to the finale here. It's a shame you can't see it in the book. I'm going to have to read it out from here. I'm going to find the page number. Luckily, I know this book pretty well. So let's read you the last part of you. Right, you've also got the Adventures of Sinuhe. So I recommend getting the book. You got Sinuhe, Sinuhe, Amoneshi. Again, it's the same story again. I'll just read this. I'll just sit back, a little bit of reading, all right? How far back we're going to go? I'll just jump around a bit. Anyway, so almost every general public interest book written on ancient Egypt contains mentions of the adventures of Sinuhe, who is sometimes called Senahat. This story, preserved in a papyrus scroll, tells the emigration and return of an important non-royal person. Remember, Moses is not royal from the family he goes into. Royal heritage, royal pedigree, yes. He's not part of the royal family. He's adopted in. You know, the basket down the Nile, the same with the other characters we talked about. So anyway, so Sinuhe tells of the emigration and return of an important non-royal person who fled from Egypt and only finally returned as an aged man. This is gold, right? Once Alan Wilson and Baron Blackett had got onto the trail of Moses in Egypt, the name and the story of Sinuhe became attractive. Phonetically, Sinuhe is close to the Welsh Soenwr. Actually, if I say it properly, Swinwr. So you got Sinuhe, Swinwr. It's almost the same, okay? Now, the Welsh word Swinwr, Swynwr, means a magician. Amazing, isn't it, how this comes out? And a whole group of associated words use this basic meaning. For example, swin means a charm or magic, and Durthswyn is the holy water, while Swinio means to charm or to bless. Swinogol means enchantment, and so on. It appears that the story of Sinuhe, or the Sinur, might fit descriptively with that is known of Moses. The story of Sinuhe begins with the principal character, Sinuhe, accompanying the son and heir of the reigning pharaoh, who was campaigning with the Egyptian armies engaged in an offence in Libya. Suddenly, the unexpected news of the death of the reigning pharaoh arrives, and the camp is in turmoil as the royal prince, who was co-regent with his father, prepares to depart back to the palace with his brothers to settle the matters of the succession to the throne and to bury their father. In this rapidly changing political situation, Sinuhe overhears a conversation between the dead king's sons and realizes that his life is in danger. Sinuhe is one of the generals. Knowing that he is threatened, probably because the most likely new pharaoh is a political opponent and enemy who regards him as a threat. In the dead of night, Sinuhe, unwilling to risk an uncertain future under the new pharaoh, quietly and secretively leaves the camp and flees away out of Egypt. The dead king is named as Amenemhat the first, or Amenemenes, and the co-regent and heir is Seruset or Seseritris, as the academic fashions change. These kings are listed in what is currently identified as the 12th century. The graphic account of his flight through Palestine relates how Sinuhe heads north out of Egypt and is successively given passage from one small state to another before finally arriving in Upper Retinue, which is Syria. Same land again, isn't it? This means that Sinuhe has made the same journey as that of Moses in the Talmuds, and that, like Moses, he has arrived in ancient Chaldean Hittite territories. Here, Sinuhe is received by the king of Upper Retinue, northern Syria, who is called Amoneshi. This king accepts Sinuhe as a person of ranking nobility and gives him his daughter in marriage. Is this starting to sound familiar again? And gives him a tribe to govern. In short, Sinuhe is given territories to provide an income suitable to his new status as the son-in-law of the king. Sinuhe serves the king, and he then becomes commander-in-chief of the army. And his career is exactly the same as Mausolus I and Moses. Whichever way one looks at this story, it has to be recognised that in any age, a fleeing, landless wanderer was not casually accepted into the courts of kings, and is most certainly not given the king's own daughter in marriage, unless he had a known and provable royal pedigree himself. Moses was a great-grandson of the Hebrew prince Abraham of Ur, and a descendant of Laban, the king prince of Haran, both cities in northern Syria. This would be a reason for him moving to this region when his life was threatened in Egypt. This descent from ruling princes would also have been known in northern Syria, and this would allow Moses to present himself at the court of the major king. It seems that Sinuhe must either be one and the same person as Moses, or else there is a most remarkable and coincidental similarity between the two. And there's more about the story of Sinuhe in here then. How he came to his life and everything. Where the interesting part I'd like to finish on. What have I done with it? Oh no. So I need my notes. Ah yeah, here we go. Right. So we got Sinuhe. Sinuhe is magician. I had the Welsh words for that. Put up. There we go. You got the message of peace on page 346. Alright, so what I'm going to talk about here.
Can't see that.
There's Medium. Thank you, Arnie. So we got Musif. Oh, I haven't talked about Musif as well. Musif, we're running out of time again tonight, unfortunately. But that means... no, I need to talk about Musif, don't we? Alright, okay. I'll just quickly cover that one then. So you got the word in Welsh, you got mois. Muis. I'm going to have to type this out, aren't I? What's the best way of doing this? 1 second. Ooh, good catch. Good catch, good catch, good catch. You need to see this. Okay. So we got the word muis. Mois. Not quite sure you say that. Muis, I think. So you got mois in Welsh. So you got moose F. Because this is important, because this is how we find the word Moses, Musef. So you got Mus-F. So the F is he or him, and the word moist can mean he who comprehends. But again, we've got the secondary language thing. But it has a secondary alternative meaning, which is a large basket or a hamper. So you've got the one who comprehends, also related to a basket. Amazing. It appears that this original language may hold another truth here. For not only was Moses he who comprehended when the huge natural disasters threatened and then struck Egypt, he was also very definitely he of the basket. The setting afloat of the baby Moses on the shores of the River Nile in a large basket close to the shoreline palace of the royal princess is one of the world's most enduring and best known tales. It remained to read the inscriptions on the throne of the wife of the exalted Rahotep, who's the other one, who's also Moses. Rahotep. Actually, let's type that in, shall we? Because that's got a Welsh meaning as well. Oop. Trying to type one-handed. There's Ra again. Hang on, let's zoom in. Don't need such a big screen on this. So we've got Rahotep. Okay. So again, if you look at the Welsh for this, anyway, we've got Ra is the power, and Hotep is related to peace, as in Hevod, or Hedduch, as I say. Right, the significance of these decipherments is this. This is the key peace message that we should take away from this, all right? It's important. It's a shame this wasn't better known. Because if you follow the story of Moses then, the biblical story of Moses, they finally reached the promised land. But Moses himself is not allowed to enter the promised land, okay? Things he's done in the past. He gets to see it, but it's left to Joshua to take the people into the promised land. And then, according to the Bible, Moses just sort of, I don't know, what's he do? Poor bloke. This lonely old man just wanders off into the mountains where God calls him up, or he just buried in an unmarked grave somewhere. He dig his own grave. It's a pretty miserable, sad ending to the story. And also, we got this story of this massive war and tribulation between what's called the Israelites and the Egyptians. And this war has become a religious war, and it's gone on ever since. It caused enormous death and suffering. And this is, if you read the story of Rahotep, who I should try and see if I can get this on screen. Hang on a second. Oh, so much you can prepare for every week. You got other things to do as well. All right, hang on. You can watch this. So we got Ra, R-A or R-H-A, take your pick. Hotep. Oh, you don't see that. You can see that, I think, can't you? It's just the lag, I think. Why isn't it coming up? Rahotep. Yeah, that's better. Here we go. Spelt incorrectly. So here we go. This is Rahotep, all right? So you're back in the 4th dynasty. The other thing I haven't covered tonight is how much jumbling up there is with the dynasties. There's a whole passage in here I want to read out where one of the top Egyptologists, one of the top experts writing almost 200 years ago, was saying this cannot be right. We've got artwork and stuff. It's almost the same with a 1600-year gap. It's impossible. And it is impossible. There's no gap. And it's just duplications, and which by genius Alan Wilson sorted out, okay? So we've got this Prince Rahotep, another one again. This is another Moses story once again. You got the son, this time the son of Sneferi, founding father of the 4th dynasty, all that dynasty stuff and everything, it all just needs throwing in the bin and starting again. We got here, Hotep means satisfied. From where does that mean that? Ra is powerful. We know Ra is the god, you know. Ancient Egyptian deity of the sun. So why is it suddenly become satisfied? The more you read it, everything just becomes bonkers, right? It says there what Ra means. And yet they put satisfied. And Hotep is derived from the Welsh word for power of peace, you know. And this thing here, I mean, they just make these things up, honestly. It's crazy. So, as you can see, this is why we show medium, you see. Rahotep's titles were described in a magnificent statue of him which with a statue of his wife. I think people think Wilson and Blackett make stuff up. This is why I like to use Wikipedia, just to show you. And Wikipedia didn't exist when this was written, all right? But just to let you know that when they're not making straw man arguments, they're not saying the mainstream says blah, blah, blah when they don't. You can read it yourself. It is the mainstream arguments, all right? So he was excavated at his mastaba at Meedham, which is the picture I just shown. You can read all about the mastabas, what the hieroglyphs mean. These describe him as the high priest of Ra, Heliopolis, blah, blah, blah. All his titles they've given him. Rahotep died when he was young, became pharaoh. Her wife was Nofret. Right, okay, well, there's more information and more detail on Wilson and Blackett than there is on Wikipedia. And you can see more about it, and there's the statues and everything. So again, this is, if I know what Moses looked like, something like this perhaps. This is, he's got a little Welsh moustache there, that's quite funny. And this is the scene that Wilson and Blackett describe and then translate. And this tells the story that's in the book here. That's the same picture, okay? And how Wilson and Blackett did all this, it just baffles me. Anyway, the significance, so let's look at decipherments, all right? Just talk about that picture just quickly. So we have Musif. The word moist can mean he who comprehends, right? It remains in inscriptions on the throne of the wife of the exalted Rahotep. And these are a message to tell of hospitality to your wife along the highway to the oasis. This again makes sense in terms of the life history of both, and that's this stuff up here, okay? The life story of both Moses and Sinuhe. We have therefore some highly significant decipherments. While the tomb and statue was attributed to Rahotep, and whilst he was believed to have lived around 2500 BC, there could be no possible, even accidental identification of Moses, and no progress can be made. Yeah, if you're 1,000 years out with your dates, you're never going to find Moses. Once you realise this is 1400s, as was Moses, and it ties in, this appears to be the resting place of Moses. And there's a big irony I'll tell you about in a second. So in the records of Mosif or Musef, in the forms of Sinuhe or Swainua the magician, and hidden under the strange misnaming of Ptah Shepsis. Because of course Ptah Shepsis is the big name, which we haven't come on to. I do need to show you that just quickly. Do Ptah Shepsis. Let's stick on Wikipedia since we're doing so well with it. Because this is the great irony of all this, which I think Wilson and Blackett fans will know. Ptah Shepsis. So this actually says there, Supreme One you are, vigorous. So that's the usual title for a king. There's the ruler. He's a godlike certainty. Ptah Shepsis doesn't say it at all, but it's not far off, I suppose. Anyway, it wouldn't be a name. Anyway, the point of this guy is the full store and all the information. If you want to see about Ptah Shepsis, you don't have to go to Egypt, because this, last time I looked, yeah, it's still there. It's in the British Museum. Unfortunately, or typically, it's in the British Museum, but it's actually all mistranslated. You can read all of this, 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 all of this. That's why I'm going to scroll through the PDF for you, because there's pages and pages and pages of all the hieroglyphs translated by Wilson and Blackett. So you can read the full story. And what they've got in the British Museum, without even knowing it, is the story of Moses. And the cool thing about it is, because he's nobility, when it came towards the end of his days, and this is a story where, if you remember in the Bible, there's a weird little passage whereby Moses has to share a tent with some young female. So I won't go into all the details. Why was he doing that? Very weird. And I would think the point of that is to prove he can't produce any more heirs. He's too old. He's supposed to live to 110 years old. So they sent someone in just to make sure the old boy's not up for it anymore. So then there's no risk of Moses, when he comes back to Egypt, which is the interesting twist that Wilson and Blackett have found, he's not going to create any problems by producing new heirs that are going to fight for the throne. He's just an old man by this stage. But he's got an amazing reputation and nobility, and he's been brought up with the royal family. And he has sent a letter requesting that he be buried back in Egypt. And this amazing tomb, which is for a non-royal, everyone knows it's a non-royal mastaba, is the mastaba from according to Wilson and Blackett. It's very convincing, of Moses. This is where you see Moses. And on that wall, you'll see Musef, as in the he of the basket. So the significance of these decipherments is this. It is known that Moses left the younger generation of the Hebrews under the leadership of Joshua, and they went north and west to invade and seize Canaan. The aged Moses did not accompany them on his final stage of their decades-long migration. Instead, he turned and wrote a letter to the then reigning Pharaoh in Egypt, who welcomed him and received him with honour and compassion into Egypt. Wilson and Blackett liked this self-evident truth far better than vague superstitions of God burying Moses on an unknown mountain, and it is far better than an unsubstantiated tale of an aged man remaining alone to die in the wilderness. Whether it has any message today for both Jews and Muslims remains to be seen. The story represents the ultimate in understanding and reconciliation, and hopefully someone will learn from it. Which I think is amazing. I think it's absolutely amazing. I think it's amazing that we can now read this, and 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 we can see the name Moses. Actually, and I love the juicy irony that it's actually in the British Museum, and you can go and visit this yourself. And we got this wonderful situation whereby the most visited item in the whole British Museum is the Rosetta Zone, which, as I showed a few weeks ago, I think is either a fake or it's been badly mutilated. And that's number one most visited. Whereas this, which way are you looking? This is that way. In many ways, the most priceless thing in the whole British Museum. In the world, in many ways. There's a story of Moses. That's from his tomb. You can see where he was buried. Isn't it fantastic? And I'm just distracting myself, and I'm starting to read it. You can read it at practice. I mean, I'm not so good as I was now because I was doing it all the time, and drawing all the things for the dictionary and all that kind of stuff. But there you go. So a little bit different this week. I hope you enjoyed that. All these books are available for hieroglyphics.com. Go to the website, get a copy. Translate the Stele. Yeah, I should translate that Stele, shouldn't I? Yeah. All those hours and hours. Yeah, Moses went back, Ian. Yeah, that's the story. Moses went back and was buried in Egypt. He wasn't just a lonely old man having to bury himself on a hill somewhere. A rather miserable ending to the life of one of the... Well, it's got to be one of the most famous figures in the world, isn't he, really? Whichever way you look at it. Who's more famous and significant than Moses? Abraham, perhaps? Hard to think of anyone else, isn't it? In Western culture. I mean, it was some ancient Chinese person or something. Right, okay. I know I've got a... Right, I'm just going to go back now. But this goes back a little... we are done now. I've done this before, haven't I? I'll say we're all done, and I find there's a bit more in the... No, that's it. Just a thank you to supporters and those who buy the books. Keep us going. That's the only income we got, is their memberships, patron supporters, and people buying books, all right? Just to give you an idea, that the advertising revenue on our YouTube videos is about... Usually works out about £2.50, I think. So I make about £12 a week. Not really enough to live on. So if you can buy some books, and donations are very much appreciated, because we do need to do this, okay? This is our history. It's really, really important. Right. I'll go back a little bit through I'll go back a little bit back through the comments here. I'm not going all the way back to the beginning, because there's loads tonight. I hope everyone's been enjoying the show. It looks like. I'm going to go back. I'm going to look on this screen. It'll be easier. I see Andrew Whelan has written, the Egyptians carved decorative spoons like the Welsh. I didn't know that. If you can find more about that, that'd be great. Taliesin, disgraceful and... Oh, hang on. Someone said something nasty. Don't forget, Marcel's got a spanner next to her name, which means she can kick you out, okay? I didn't say anything rude. I was concentrating. Anyway, right. There's 300 pyramids in China at least. Yeah, must be. And the Incas and Aztecs might be a Khmer relation. I don't know about the Chinese ones. It seems unlikely. But as I always say to people, if you want to build a tall building, there's only one way you can build it, and that's a pyramid. If you don't have the modern subframes and stuff like that, you try it. Get bricks or anything. The only way you can build up ties with a pyramid. Right, I remember Andre Maritis. Oh, I think of a new name. Hello, Andre. Croeso, welcome aboard. I remember Eric von Daniken saying he thinks Enoch built the greatest pyramid and was Egyptian. Well, this is where we have the connection with... wow, donation from Brad. Thank you very much, Brad. £10. That's very generous. Thank you very much indeed. So the Enoch, that definitely ties in with the British history then. Marcel knows this better than me. But that's where you end up with the Northwest Wales... what do you call it? The star chart. Brain's gone dead. Hugh Evans' book. The Zodiac. Thank you very much. The Zodiac. What? Yes, thank you very much. Yes. Right, Marshall, I have to say I don't know. I know I've got a spanner, but I'm very new to wielding it. You have to find out how spanners worked, Marshall. But the King's Chamber and the Cheops Pyramid, its GPS coordinates are exact as speed of light in meters per second. Well, there's so much in that. Oh, hello, Akmal. Say you always got something interesting to say. I don't know about that. What I do know is that Alan Wilson has written the notes, which Margaret, Paul's wife, thank you very much indeed, has typed up. I've got to get it done soon. It's probably my next project, is why the pyramids were built and what their purpose is. It's very different to what everyone's been saying. And the crime... Marshall said, I mean, he said that buying the Welsh language in the House of Commons is racist, that's all. That's why I thought Taliesin upset you. I thought it seemed strange, because... so that's what's happening with that, yeah. So why the pyramids are built. And they were writing this back in the 80s. You know, so 40 years ago. And still well ahead of the game with people's guesses as to what pyramids are for. It all makes sense once you've seen that. Right, Moses is from Orkney, but went all the way to Egypt and back. So that's Andre Marites. We're tying in this idea now that the Bible was in Britain. This is where it gets confusing, Andre, and I agree with you. It seems like we've got a Bible, we've got a British version, and we've got Middle East events. It seems to be the two, so it's all very confusing. What else we got here? Hang on, easier on here now, I think. Only mods can post YouTube links. Oh, that's a weird thing. I don't know why that is. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Monica. Thank you for joining us. Right, I can see better on here now. Right, here we go. Just read a few more comments. Sven in Norwegian is apprentice. Right. Oh, Georgia and John Jones. Hello, George and John Jones. New name. Yes, it's true. Elongated skulls found near Stonehenge. Research done by Maria Wheatley. Here is a link to her megalithomania lecture. Yeah, I love those. I want to see that lecture. I haven't seen that one. Okay. I see. So you actually have to tell what the links are. People have to find them. Oh, unblock my secondary channel, Mona E. Yes, will do. Arnie?
Yep.
Remind me after. Can you make a note of that? I need to unblock that one there, okay?
Yeah, sure.
And there's people sharing links. Very good, very good. Okay, long-headed skulls. I can't add anything to conversation on that. Edinburgh, the Mount of Olives. Yeah, Sue Evans. Arthur C. Now, we've done quite a bit on this, Sue, about the Commons Beaumont and the idea of Edinburgh being Jerusalem. I think you're going to have to do a special program on that. You're going to have to do a special program on that. Right. Squirrel Sniper. The dates, Ross, is very simple. The years are not years, but the number of moon cycles. 30 days divided by 12. So, what's that? Divided by 2.5? There's a bit more to it than that, though, because what Wilson and Blackett show is that this whole... a little curious one. We'll chat a second, since we're just on chatting a bit. If you look at Fomenko in the Russian books, what they do, there's usually one sitting right there. Where are they? I can't see. It's dark. Find my books in the dark. And they're very clear. Now, what they had was huge teams of scientists and mathematicians. And I'll give you an example of they try and do everything with maths, all right? Modelling and, God, my degree had way too much of all that kind of stuff. Which I don't like, I have to say, I don't enjoy. But the great thing about it is I'm not intimidated when I see that. I think a lot of people see loads of maths and graphs and things. They see this kind of stuff and they get really intimidated and don't want to pursue it or anything. But actually, if you just get over your phobias and dive in, you'll find it's not that difficult. Anyway, it's not me able to see it very well. But what they were doing is, if you look at, because they were looking at histories being repeated from Renaissance times back to ancient times. Like how much of what we're told was ancient Romans was actually Renaissance Italians fighting each other and stuff, things like that. So what they do is they look at Bible stories. That's the best example. If you look at Fomenko's work on the Bible, it's brilliant. You can see whole sections of the Bible repeated. Once you had it pointed out, it does make sense. I can't remember which one it is now. I think Kings is repeated from somewhere. Yeah, I can't remember the examples off the top of my head. So what they do is they make a line and they look at each ruler. So they will say, I don't know, ruled for 40 years. All the key information parts you got. Ruled for 40 years, fought 3 battles, had 3 wives, 5 children, invented writing, whatever it is, right? The key events that we know about a certain person. And you give a score to those things. And then what you do then is look at a parallel history and give that scores. So if you find another history, and the first one, this person here is also ruled for 40 years, also had 5 sons, 3 wives, invented writing, whatever it was, fought 3 major battles. His first son only lasted 6 months. Hang on, this one only lasted 6 months. Second son ruled for 70 years. My goodness, this one's second son ruled for 70 years. And do a whole dynasty. And what you do, you sort of try and correlate them by giving scores. And then you look how close the 2 graphs are. And if the 2 graphs are almost identical, then you can try and look with a degree of certainty that that story has been copied. Because it's unlikely that, say 20 generations over, what would that be, 400 years, just so happen to have the same number of children and battles and all this kind of thing. What's remarkable is that's what Wilson and Blackett were doing way back in the 80s and 90s, with the parallel kings. When they showed the British kings, the Roman emperors were actually British kings, almost identical. And that's the kind of mind that Alan Wilson's got, that he can just do all that and not even think about it. It's amazing. So there's a lot of parallels between the Fomenko methods and those. So I don't know. And it's not. I don't think it's just a case of divided by 2.5. They're like thousands of years out. It's massive. Right, George and John Jones. Some believe that the master builder race originally from Britain and that elongated skulls. Oh, I see. That's where the elongated skulls came from. Then migrated to Egypt. Yes. Well, this is something we're looking into. It's very difficult to look at it. I mean, the way I don't know about the elongated skulls and stuff, but the way we're trying to research is that, and if you look at Marco, but I'm here for Marco for a while, Marco Saluris, with his downloading, his sort of seeing things, it's amazing. And he has seen a history as well whereby all the people starting in Britain went out and are coming back. And it does tie in. And what it seemed to have happened, there's sort of a climate change in that Wilson and Blackett do write about this and other stuff, about Atlantis. I've got to get the writings about Atlantis when I've worked out what they're on about. It's a bit confusing. But what they're showing is that you get jolts from planets and things hitting, which shift the poles. So if you're in this bit, lovely temperate, lovely warm conditions, life's good, food's good, pole shifts, in an Arctic tundra, you've got to move fast. And that could have been driven them out of Britain to the Middle East, as you're saying there, and then back again. Makes perfect sense to me, because you've got situations where like Hugh Evans' Zodiac and other things, which could be like 10,000 years plus, but the British didn't get to Britain until 1500 BC. What's that? 3,500 years ago. So how can you have stuff 10,000 years old if they didn't get you till 3,500 years ago? So people say there must be some sort of indigenous race which disappeared. It seems more like to me there's this big gap, although the dating's all pretty dodgy anyway. Has anyone checked out the ancient hill fort in Bethlehem? No, I haven't, Dale. Thank you for mentioning it. Someone sent photographs. Someone sent me photographs and told me, was it you did that, Dale? I've got to get down to Bethlehem because there's a hill fort there as well. I'm going to have a look. All this idea of the Bible taking place in Britain. There's something going on, and I think the penny's going to drop for all of us at some point. It's annoying me. How can we have certain events definitely in the Middle East, certain events definitely in Britain, and yet they merge into one story? It's a trick has been played somewhere, and it's really difficult to unwind it. Right, you mistake prophecy for history. Yeah, well, see, that's interesting thing you say that, because Alan Wilson always says a lot of the, when you read prophecies in books, including the Bible, and is it Isaiah? What's the last book of the Old Testament? Enoch, Isaiah. The latest mainstream research on it has been that that's one of the last books of the Bible written. This is where I get myself into real deep water now. So when he writes the prophecy of the story of Jesus' life story, it's written after the event and then backdated to create a prophecy to fulfill. So, Andrew Wheeler, what's he going to say now? When you know the future, you can send appropriate presents. Kenneth Mackay, I should have, instead of wandering up and down the beach getting burned, I got nice stripes from my backpack. Indoors for a pint is better when it gets too hot. Yay, how can you know the future? Yeah, right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I think we just put there. You can see why Paul Jenkinson, you can see why Wilson and Blackett was held back. They're right over target. Yeah, it's pretty. The thing with their work was I wish these people would get really aggressive. And for one, they're really, really nice people. I don't know if I covered everything. You wouldn't meet gentler, nicer people, and people say awful things about them. Like, they never got criminal records. They never been to prison. They never convicted of anything, and people call them criminals and nasty things and say the books are crazy. And yet when you read the books are actually really, really logical and sensible. Andrea73, much enjoyed, Ross. Thank you, Andrea, for mentioning it. Fab show. Right, well, thank you very much. I think we get to the end now, so do you want to play us out, Don?
Yep.
All right, Squirrel Sniper. A year was 360 days a year with 12 moon cycles. We have calculated the scribes as years, but actually months. Oh, you divide by 12. I understand now. Okay, yes, I understand. Yeah, one of the things I think Alan Wilson puts in one of his books was the idea that when you talk about... Thank you, Paul. When you talk about a year, what do you mean when they say some of the biblical characters are so old? Maybe they did live to huge ages. But I think with Alan Wilson's saying that maybe it's seasons, like a summer and a winter is 2 years, things like that. So yeah, you're onto something there, Squirrel. Yeah. It's difficult to work it out exactly. Astrological age is approximately 25,770 years. Yes, that's such precession, isn't it? Thank you, David Apewell. Right, oh my goodness, 10:10. Over 2 hours. Wow. I think I lost track of time then. I was thinking past 9 was something past 8. Well, I hope everyone for Diolch Ross y Teulu, Diolch yn fawr nos y da. Thank you, Meg. Diolch yn fawr. Right, Denani, what are you gonna have tonight? What did we talk about earlier? Could you remember it? I picked a random tune, didn't I? I wondered if you knew it. It's something to do with what we were talking about. Yes, Marshall, Moses, one of my favourite characters. Flawed, doubting and brilliant. Yes, that's true, isn't it? Very human. Very most lived character out of all of them in many ways, wasn't it? Doing things wrong. What did we talk about? We had a laugh about it. It was going to be a joke. So I wanted to play something as well. Do you know any Elvis songs? No, never mind. All right, but I think my voice is almost gone anyway. Oh, I can play that. All right, now we'll save it for next time. Yeah, what's the Elvis one? Go on, I'll sing along. I'll try and sing along. I think my voice is gone. It's a bit croaky tonight. Pardon?
You need guitar?
Yeah, where's my guitar gone?
Next other side.
Oh, that one I need. It's got the Bear from Gallo on it, the capo. I haven't got the music either. I'm not as clever as you are. I can't just make things up. All right, anyway, I'm going to have a go. I can't remember. Go on, off you go. You start playing it. I'll
Starting notes.
Pardon? Let's rock. Everybody, let's rock. Hang on. That's what I should have started there. Everybody in the wholesale block. I give up. I need the music, alright? I need the music. Talentless. Oh, it'd be so nice to have talent. It's the only thing missing. Pardon? Go on, play whatever you like, Alec. What do you give us? Right, okay. Whew, did we cover a lot tonight, didn't we? Wow, massive crowd on board. Biggest ever, so fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. That's, so those new people, I say, we're not jump too much in the deep end. I think everyone knows the story of Moses, doesn't they? So, like I said, I'm fully better again now. New books will be coming out soon. More videos on the way soon. Give Adam's channel a go, alright? Very interesting bloke. And Adam, get those videos out, because I want to hear more about, what's his name, Virgil coming across from Italy. Yay, we're currently in the age of Pisces, hence the fish being the symbol of Jesus. Well, one of the things I have to add in there on the fish is a little secret at the end, for those who stay to the very end from Alan Wilson, is majorly this, what we think is the fish, the little fish you see on the back of the cars, is that actually the eye of Horus, or Cyrus, I should say. Right, anyway, Ali B, you going to turn the camera off?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, don't hit it too hard. Not through the windows. Oh, I should break the camera. No, please.
Break the camera.
Get a gentle teenage prop to do something delicate. We got a sword. You could do with a sword. Oh, yeah, Alan, thanks again for the sword. You need to put another one up for... cheers, Gary. Good to see you on board. And Arnie's going to hit it with an Arthur sword. Start from back here somewhere else, so if you can see it's the King Arthur sword.
Very nice sword.
Yeah, Pro Anima Artorius on the back. And then we got the Colburn on this side. And that'll be in a bead, I think, isn't it?
Very nice sword.
Truth Against the World, I think it is. I might got that wrong. Right, okay, good night to everybody. I just say North Star. And until next time, loads of videos during the week. And until next week, have wishing all my love, Cariad and peace, which is Hedduch. Going on. I think it smashed it.
I think it's fine.
I don't know. Hang on, there's this huge lag now. We're going to wait to see if it works. We're going to wait to see if it works. Did it work? Did it work?
Sunlight.
Did it work? Hang on, here comes the sword. Here comes the sword. This is how big the lag is. This is why we're so slow on the comments. Sorry about that. I'll check out Archaeologists, the chronological antiquities. Hey, well done. That work? It's kind of
I
work.
don't think so. You didn't see the sword.
Oh, yeah. Didn't see the sword. Every man should own a sword. Yeah, at least 2, 3.
There's a real one here.
Yeah, we have got a real sword as well. Might come in handy. If anyone wants to grab my books, we do have a real double-handed sword. Right, I'm saying goodnight many times now, so North Star, definitely the last time. And if you want to say goodnight, do it quickly, because I'm going to shut down the chat as well. It's okay. Gute Nacht, yeah, gute Nacht. Yeah, Alice in Deutschland, yeah, gute Nacht. Danke für watching. Bye.